tonight, when you're playing a big man, you got Luke, you got Nemi, you got Al Horford. Like, you have these very capable, good defenders and these bodies you can throw at them. And Al, he walked away with the SeatGeek player spotlight, guys. We have to give, Al Horford his flowers today. Shout out to Jaylen Brown, though. Jaylen Brown had himself a phenomenal afternoon, but man, Al Horford. It was a vintage Al Horford game, guys. But before we talk about Al Horford, I just want to give a quick shout out to the sponsor of the post-game show, SeatGeek. Guys, the playoffs are right around the corner, and SeatGeek has you covered for the best prices on the market. Head over to the SeatGeek app and at checkout, use code Celtics Weekly for $20 off your first purchase. Again, the link to that will be in the description down below. Guys, let's talk about Al Horford going band for band today against the 3-time MVP Nikola Jokić. Guys, in today's matchup, Al had 19 points, 8 rebounds, 3 steals. He was a +4 on the box plus-minus, a very efficient 7 of 12 from the floor, guys. Al, it felt like he made all the winning plays, and this is exciting because Finn kind of mentioned the hyperbolic chamber with Jrue Holiday, which I think that's super real. I think Jrue Holiday is coasting through the regular season, but Al Horford's another guy where you look at in the past 3 weeks, we saw it in the Cleveland matchup on the road against Garland and Mitchell and his switchability. Today, he did it again. He picks out a random game that's a big game, that's a marquee matchup, and he comes in at 38 years old, guys. He delivers a signature performance at home today.
Al Horford, we talked about it in December and January, where Al Horford, just a complete mess offensively out there, complete mess. And really, the Celtics, I will say, were using him in a way that I would say preserves his body. They weren't making him bang in the post too much. They weren't making him go down low and be that low post passer. They were really making him be that just spot up shooter from beyond the arc, whether it was on the wing or in the corner. Al Horford was shooting the 3 ball prolifically. And that's what ultimately makes this performance this afternoon so impressive for Al Horford, is the fact Al Horford was 7 of 12 from the floor, but only 1 of 3 from 3, which means he was 6 of 9 from 2. And this is what makes it a vintage Al Horford performance, as he goes up against a near 5-time MVP in the league in Nikola Jokić, and Al Horford takes it to him physically and gets his points down low. That is not something we've seen from Al Horford all season, and it feels like it's not something we've seen consistently out of Al Horford for a couple of seasons now. That's not necessarily a bad thing because the Celtics don't always need that, but when it comes around, it's a huge advantage to the Boston Celtics. And Al Horford, to be doing this at the age in which he is just spectacular. It needs to be talked about a little bit more in the league. It doesn't do this consistently, but just the little help that he can bring that to this Celtics team, it almost reminds you of something like how Andre Iguodala was with the Golden State Warriors, where he might not have always been the effective player, but sometimes he could come out there and give them some good minutes as an older player. I think Al Horford, he's almost going beyond that ascension for the Boston Celtics at this point in time. And I kind of iterated it earlier with Al Horford, is his defense. Defensively, Al Horford, his athleticism, his ability to move his feet defensively, his ability to get those deflections. I talked about the deflections so many times in this post game already, but Al Horford, he came up with 3 of them today. Came up with 3 of them, and that really is what led the Boston Celtics to getting out in transition, really getting the crowd up and going. I've mentioned that on some post games recently, where the crowd just needs to get under the Celtics just a little bit. Celtics need to get under the crowd as well, give them something to cheer for. Today, Al Horford coming out and showing out defensively, got the Celtics running in transition a little bit, got the crowd going, and eventually led to the win overall for the Boston Celtics. But Al Horford, he did the work on both ends of the floor. He was super efficient on the offensive end, did a lot of things that we haven't seen from him in a long time, and defensively too, came up with those deflections, came up with those steals, and those 19 points. You look at the final results, only a 7-point game. Al Horford, he's not a 19-point per game scorer at any means whatsoever. Usually the 2 players off the bench, when they give you something offensively, Al Horford and Sam Hauser, when those 2 players are giving you something off the bench, it's usually something that we gawk at and go, oh, wow, we actually got something out of these 2 players from a point scoring perspective tonight. And Al Horford was that player for the Boston Celtics, coming up with 19 points in the end. And that graphic was perfect. One vintage Al game, because that's exactly what it was in this big spot. He does have a couple of these on the season, I will say, in some big spots, which has to get us a little excited come playoff time, knowing this is the Al Horford that could be around on a gamely basis.
This was definitely I'm so impressed with how Al Horford has been as of late, especially. But this was definitely his best game this season for sure. I mean, it was definitely wasn't even. There's no better game to do it than against the Nuggets for sure. I mean, just defensively, like we talked about too, his steal numbers as well. It's just good to see. This is the Al Horford, and like Seamus just said too. I want to see this Al Horford in the playoffs this year because no matter if he's going to be starting, if we have some guys out, knock on wood, or coming off the bench too, he can be that guy that we need to, like that can come up in key plays for sure.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a reason that Jason Tatum said his favorite teammate of all time is Al Horford, right? I got a stat that I thought was pretty mind-blowing. Players with 19 points, 8 rebounds, and 3 steals at age 38 or older. So you have Al Horford today, and then the other guys on the list, you have Kareem, Tim Duncan, LeBron, Michael Jordan, Karl Malone, Hakeem, Robert Parrish, and Kevin Willis. I mean, I feel like that says it all, right, guys? Like Al Horford's ability to be timeless and timely for the Celtics in any given moment has been special, and it's not something we're just seeing now. It's something we've seen throughout his tenure as a Celtic, and to see him be so effective at age 38 has been truly amazing. So I like what you guys have said about him so far, and shout out OG.
He is the definition of whatever he can give you is always a positive. Al Horford is really never going to take, except Cleveland, because again, but we're talking fully healthy Celtics. He is never really going to take away from the game. He hardly ever makes mistakes. His knowledge, he's year 18, he's 38. He is just so sound defensively and offensively. Seamus, you nailed it. What we saw in December and January, that's not the Al Horford we're going to see in the playoffs. That is the preserve Al Horford. That is the, okay, you're open, shoot the ball, right? Yes. Is Al Horford going to be in the mix from behind the arc? Absolutely. He plays for the Joe Mazzulla offense and the Boston Celtics that shoot the ball at a historic rate. He's going to shoot threes, and he's going to make a lot of threes come playoff time. But tonight, he had 19 points on one made 3-point field goal. He was banging down low. That is the Al Horford we were accustomed to watching like back in 2016, the 2022 NBA playoffs. That's the Al. And if we can get that, even just for one game, a playoff series, right? Give it to us one game. If you can do something like this, Al Horford, the Celtics are going to be looking very, very good tonight. He had did a phenomenal job defensively on Nikola Jokić. That switch in the fourth quarter where he was on Jamal Murray and Murray tries to go to the left side baseline to get that fadeaway off, and he goes up and you realize Al Horford's breathing down his neck and he tries to pass it and Horford tips it, which eventually leads to the 3-on-1 break when the Al Horford finish and kind of the nail in the coffin. But like those are the plays that you don't see 38-year-olds making. That the two-way, he's going to get the stop on defense, he's going to run and get back on offense, and he's going to finish it off. 5 years ago, he finishes it off with a dunk and not a layup. But again, 2 points is 2 points. And Al, Seamus, I love that. What we saw in December and January, don't expect that in the playoffs. Al Horford can bang down low with the best of them still, and he showed that tonight.
Yeah, I think these Al Horford performance too. I mean, they come out in timely moments. I mean, really, one performance that sticks out to me from this season is the Golden State Warriors game defensively from Al Horford. It felt like in that game, Sunday afternoon, MLK Day, or I guess Monday afternoon, it was MLK Day. That game against the Golden State Warriors on TNT, big spot. Al Horford came out and was a dominant defensive player in that game, and the Warriors only scored 39 points in the first half of that matchup. And really, Al Horford, it feels like when the moment is big, he comes out and shows up. We think about the Cleveland game from a couple of weeks ago. In that game, he was so large, and we came in here and talked about him then too. And tonight, or rather today, against the Denver Nuggets, it's a game where you're facing another big man who is nearly a 5-time MVP. He's going to be a 4-time MVP after this season. He could have won that one Joel Embiid MVP, let's be honest here. He's basically a 5-time MVP in Nikola Jokić. Al Horford comes out, and you can still see his competitive spirit out there. We've seen a lot of players retire in the past, citing, I didn't really have a want to play anymore. I'm really not interested in playing anymore. I didn't have that same competitive spirit within me to go out there and play a full 82 games or really go through the entire routine to want to play. Well, Al Horford at 38 years old still has that competitive spirit because you can see it come out in nights and games like this, where Al Horford, he's going up against another dominant big man in the league. Al Horford knows he's fallen from grace in terms of being a dominant all-star big man in the league. He understands that. He understands what point of his NBA career he's at, but he still understands where he came from and what he's done in the past and what he can still do out there on a basketball court. And when he can bring that to the Celtics on a big occasion, that's when the Celtics can get a real nice boost out of Al Horford. And I really think it's going to be shown more so in the playoffs than anything else, because every single night in the playoffs is a tough physical battle, and every game just gets more and more intense as the playoffs go along. Every game becomes more and more important, and Al Horford in those important situations, those big game situations, Al Horford comes up, steps up to the plate, and he comes out swinging. And that's Al Horford's one of his best attributes at 38 years old, is outside of all the skill on the floor, it's the fact that he actually comes out, he cares about these games, he's competitive, and he can bring the Celtics a big boost in big spots. And that's what Al Horford did today against the Denver Nuggets in a matchup that called for Al Horford to go and play like he did today.
I'm sitting there watching this game today, and I'm thinking to myself, is this it for Al? Do we think this is the last? Is this his last hurrah, or do we see a potential Udonis Haslem role coming up in the future where maybe he's not playing but he's still on the bench? Or is this
out those minimums?
Because I thought last year was it for him. I thought the title was exactly how he was gonna hang him up, but I think he saw an opportunity. I think one, he still has juice left in the tank, and he's showed that today. And I think he also saw an opportunity to not just get one ring, to get 2 rings. And then if he gets 2 rings, you maybe are sniffing the Hall of Fame. So are you guys, is this it for Al, or what do we think?
I mean, if it is, I'm not ready for it. Just like in, like another sport, like I'm not ready for the John Cena farewell tour, like on the WWE side, but for Al Horford, especially though, I don't know. And, I like what Rob just said too, the Udonis Haslem role, like, where he, isn't really going to be able to just kind of play. It's almost like how, like James Johnson does it too, kind of, and like how Tristan Thompson as well too. But this is Al Horford's. What's that?
Taj Gibson,
yeah. Right.
I didn't even know he's still in the league.
Yeah,
I think it's in the Hornets. Yeah, I think he might have been actually playing though for sure a couple weeks ago when like they had guys out. Wow. But yeah,
that's another story. Taj Gibson, get in.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But yeah, as for Al Horford, I mean, I think it has to just depend on like the playoff run we have. And when I say that, I mean, if we have a good stretch, then I think maybe he'll just decide maybe, I think just keep going. But, I think maybe if it's just like the stretch we have is just not good and we just don't end up making it like past the semifinals, then, I mean, you got your ring. You put your heart into this game. I mean, it wouldn't hurt to hang it up, obviously, but I think that he wants to just keep winning until, he gives out. But I mean, obviously it's time will tell, but I'm not ready for it yet. But still, Al Horford especially is, probably our heart and soul right now. Now we don't have Marcus Smart, but I mean, it's, I still think that Al can definitely bring a lot more than he can right now. So we'll see.
Yeah. Rob, I thought he was going to retire after winning the chip last year.
Oh, too, I thought it was a shoo-in.
Yeah, but when I heard that he was coming back for more, it kind of just told me that as long as the Celtics have that championship window, and it's currently wide open, right? Al Horford's going to stay, and not only is the Celtics championship window open, his ability to contribute is still open. So I think that he'll be around next season too. Okay. And I think that when Al Horford eventually hangs it up, I feel like we'll really start to see it. Like, I think that the Celtics will start giving, I don't know if Kate is the future, but start giving other guys all his minutes, and Al will start to kind of pivot into a lesser role than he is right now. And he'll eventually go off into the sunset. But I mean, Al Horford's still contributing on a championship level right now. So there's nothing that's pointing towards retirement, I feel like.
Well, it's like the Tom Brady, the LeBron James, the Chris Paul,
the Al Horford
story. Really, if you're still playing at a high level and you're still contributing, like you just said, Finn, at a high level to a championship level team, why would you want to stop? If you feel comfortable playing every other night, you're not in pain, which clearly Al Horford's not right now. If he's not in pain, if he's comfortable, if he's contributing, why would he need to stop? And then all of a sudden, you're over 40. I mean, that's where Brady found himself nearly midway through his 40s, still playing. He was playing well. He kept playing well. And that's ultimately when you're playing well and you're comfortable playing well, well, what's the reason to stop exactly? And Al Horford, that's where I see with him right now. There's no reason to stop. Even after last season, it's like, oh, yeah, he's 37, 38 years old. He just won a chip finally, 17th, 18th season in the NBA. But if he's still contributing to the Boston Celtics and he was still playing at a high level last playoff run, I mean, that game 5 against Cleveland, he's the one who put the dagger in Cleveland's heart last year in game 5 in that series at home. And Al Horford, the fact he's still contributing the way he is right now, there's just no reason on my end. I don't see a reason as to why he would retire other than just, oh, well, I played 17, 18, 19 seasons. Well, I might as well just hang it up. That to me, that Al Horford, the way he is wired, that doesn't strike me as something that he would ultimately do. Just look at his years and go, I'm done. I think he would have to feel it, whether
Right.
it's in his competitive spirit or whether it's in his actual physicality within his body. I think he's going to have to actually feel it in some way, whether he's kind of reached a point where he realizes, oh, I'm not on a competitive team or we're not competing anymore, or reach a point where he's thinking, oh, physically, I'm just not up to this task anymore. I think it has to get there first for Al Horford before he considers retirement. And that could be potentially 1, 2 more seasons, 3 more seasons down the line. We don't really know what the full capabilities of Al Horford are at this given moment. We just kind of assume, oh, based on the years, based on the championships, can he go out like Peyton Manning? Well, Peyton Manning went out. He had to go out. He either was going to win or lose that Super Bowl. He was going out either or. His arm was going out. Al Horford's arm and his entire body, it ain't going out yet. And I think Al Horford, that kind of sets the precedent for him playing a little bit longer than we might think. And that's what set the precedent for guys like Tom Brady, LeBron James, and even Chris Paul to play longer than we've all thought, because they just kept winning. They kept contributing to their teams and they felt comfortable doing so. And that's what it looks like Al Horford is doing right now with the Boston Celtics.
Yeah, I think the playoffs are going to be a big tell. I do think there's an aspect for Al is, can I put together a full playoff run, right? Because it's one thing to do it in the regular season where you're missing back-to-backs, but like, can I put together a 2-month stretch of 20 games or so of really competitive high-level basketball? I personally think he still can. And I don't know. I'm sitting there and I'm thinking like he's 38. But I mean, you guys make some compelling arguments. I mean, Chris Paul's 40 right now, and he's still playing at a high level. Obviously, you see what LeBron's doing, and it's just ridiculous what he's averaging 26 at 40. So, I mean, you're starting to see it a little bit more in sports with these guys playing for a little bit longer into their 40s. I mean, if Al can give us 2 more years, that is special, especially because we thought we got the Al Horford replacement that didn't work out in Xavier Tillman. So, that is it is interesting, and I agree with you, Brendan. I'm not ready for the day Al Horford decides.
There's a lot more work to do. I'll tell you that right now. There's a lot more work to do because I think we just need to finish this year again. Just like we said last year after that Indy game. The vision's clear. We know what we have to do. We got to finish this, and I'm sure he wants that same mindset as well going into when we go to the postseason. But not to jump ahead, but still.
No, but that's a good point, because you honestly look at the complexion of this roster, and there are some in a year from now, maybe even this offseason, 2 years. There's some holes you're going to have to fill, and some big ones. Drew's 35, Al's 38. Like, the window is right now, right? These next 2-3 years are super big. Celtics got to capitalize.